The Senate will come to order. I ask everyone present to please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In the absence of clergy, let us bow our heads in a moment of silent reflection or prayer. Reading of the Journal.
In Senate, Sunday, March 27, 2022, the Senate met pursuant to adjournment. The Journal of Saturday, March 26, 2022 was read and approved. On motion, the Senate adjourned.
Without objection, the Journal stands approved as read.
Okay.
Presentation of petition. Messages from the Assembly. Secretary will read.
Senator Kaplan moves to discharge from the Committee on Energy and Telecommunications Assembly Bill number 3217A and substitute it for the identical Senate Bill 931, third reading calendar 572.
So ordered. Messages from the Governor. Reports of standing committees. Reports of select committees. Communications and reports from state offices. Motions and resolutions. Senator Gianaris.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon. Amendments are offered to the following third reading calendar bills by Senator Mayer, calendar 509, by Senator Parker, calendar 712.
The amendments are received and the bills retain their place on the third reading calendar. Senator Gianaris.
At this time, let's take up previously adopted Resolution 2003 by Senator Sepulveda. Read its title and recognize Senator Sepulveda.
Secretary will read.
Senate Resolution 2003 by Senator Sepulveda, celebrating March 26, 2022 as Bangladesh Day.
Senator Sepulveda on the resolution.
Thank you for allowing me to present this resolution. It brings me great pride and joy and honor to see so many members of the Bangladeshi American community coming here, as we have done for the last 10 years. I see people here from Queens, I see from the Bronx. We know that the majority population of Bangladeshi Americans in this state reside in Queens, primarily in Jackson Heights and Astoria, so our deputy leader is also here. And also from Bronx, primarily Parkchester, the area that I represent and I have for the last 10 years in different capacities. So I want to thank them all for being here. It's with great pleasure and joy that today in the New York State Senate, I have the honor to sponsor Senate Resolution J2003, which passed the Senate on March 8th, commemorating the birth centenary of the Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the founding father of Bangladesh, and the golden jubilee of Bangladesh independence. Especially, as I said, in Queens, but especially in the borough of the Bronx, I have the opportunity to learn about their culture, their tradition, their culinary arts, love the food, and see how they are an honorable part of the community that, with great sacrifices, contribute every day to the aspects of our lives, this state and this country. In 2019, I had the honor of taking a delegation of 5 New York State senators to Bangladesh, including Senator Comrie, Senator Skoufis, Senator Parker, and Senator Liu. And it was just one of the most incredible experiences that we ever had to actually visit that country, meet with the leadership, with government leaders and civic leaders and business leaders, and the warmth, the appreciation, and the kindness that they demonstrated during that week is something that none of the colleagues of mine that went to Bangladesh will ever forget. The entire state of New York recognizes the great contributions of the Bangladeshi American population, our brothers and sisters, and today with us is a delegation of important leaders from the community. I request that Abu Shahid and his distinguished guests humbly and with great affection receive this resolution. May we celebrate together one more year of the independence of the great nation of Bangladesh, and when we celebrate one more year together as our friends come here to the New York State Senate and the New York State Assembly to recognize this momentous occasion for the country of Bangladesh and for the people from Bangladesh that have blessed our nation with their contributions and their efforts. Dhonnobad.
Thank you, Senator Sepulveda. Senator Gianaris on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank Senator Sepulveda for advancing this important resolution. I'm also glad he pointed out how Astoria in particular has so many great members of the Bangladesh community. It is an honor to have represented them, and as I'm sure Senator Ramos will add her voice to some of the most diverse areas in the world that we get to represent. Not surprising that a community as vibrant and important as the Bangladeshi community is a part of that. And it's so great to see so many representatives here today joining us in the Senate. I also want to point out that it's great that they live in Astoria because Bangladeshi independence was celebrated for March 26th. Greek Independence Day is March 25th. And so we have many members of both communities sharing space in that neighborhood and celebrating their respective histories and heritages. And that is ultimately what the story of New York is all about. And so welcome to our guests today. Thank you for making the trip and joining us. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Gianaris. Senator Prasad on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. To my Bengali friends, welcome. Happy Independence. I serve a large community of Bengalis in my City Line community, and the Bengali population has been expanding their growth in social services, in political circles, in every circle possible. So welcome again to our chamber. And as I say every year, please bring more women so we can celebrate the great contributions of women in the Bengali community. Have a great day. Thank you.
Senator Ramos on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I love the note that Senator Prasad ended on. We definitely need more Bangladeshi women up in the galleys. I hope next time you bring your wives and your daughters to make sure that they can also share in celebrating the Grand Jubilee. I consider myself a Bangabandhu, which means friend of Bengal. I represent Jackson Heights, which includes one of the largest Bangladeshi communities in all of New York. In fact, 60% of the Bangladeshi community lives in Queens. And growing up in the most diverse place in the world, I have to say that it's been amazing to be able to share with many of my Bangladeshi neighbors, particularly their food, which is delicious, but also their amazing journalism and their entrepreneurial spirit, which certainly decorates a lot of 72nd and 73rd Street in Jackson Heights, and I'm always so proud to work with them. But most of all, I feel very thankful because even some of my son's best friends are Bangladeshi. And Benjamin, my oldest in pre-K, came home actually with a few Bangla words, teaching me how to say water in Bangla and all of these things that he had learned from his friend Tasin. So these are the things that make Queens kids and New York kids who we are, and how it is that we make sure that compassion is how we act here in New York State. So with that, I want to say Donabad, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Ramos. To our guests, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. Donabad. The resolution was previously adopted on March 8th. Senator Gianaris.
Let's move on now to previously adopted Resolution 2052 by Senator Ort. Read its title and recognize Senator Ort.
The Secretary will read.
Senate Resolution 2052 by Senator Ort, memorializing Governor Kathy Hochul to proclaim March as Problem Gambling Awareness Month in the state of New York.
Senator Ort on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity to speak on this important resolution. It's important, and we often designate a specific month or a day to celebrate special causes or certain achievements or historical milestones, but it's equally important to designate time to recognize serious issues or problems that affect the lives of all New Yorkers. New York recently adopted online sports betting, and since it first began on January 8th of this year, New Yorkers have laid down more than $2.4 billion in bets. We join more than half the nation in legalizing online sports wagering, and it's become an economic engine for New York and an activity for New Yorkers to take part in and enjoy. With the opportunity to gamble, however, it's important to consider that with every pro, there are always cons and negative consequences. And we need to spread awareness about services that are available to New Yorkers who struggle with the problem of gambling. It's important to recognize the lives and families across the state that have been affected by problem gambling, as well as take necessary preventive measures to stop more people from going down that road. The New York Council on Problem Gambling and the Western New York Problem Gambling Resource Center have joined together in an effort to help individuals in our communities who are struggling with problem gambling. These organizations help to facilitate the crucial actions of education, training, referral assessment, treatment, and recovery support. I recently had the opportunity to meet with the leaders of the Western PGRC earlier this month, and I was able to thank them for the work that they do on behalf of our community. I look forward to partnering with them to bring awareness and assistance to those who have been negatively affected by problem gambling. And really, this is no different when you think about all of the things this body has done to assist those who struggle with addiction. Very often we think about substance abuse or we think about drug use, but addiction takes many forms. And gambling is just as, people who have addiction problems or struggle, gambling is just as much of a threat to them or their families as those other substances I named. And so while we, I think, rightfully legalize sports betting, I think it's important to talk about and partner with groups who provide services, because a lot of times, nobody, when they're at the casino or they're wagering on FanDuel, they don't sit there and talk about, hey, where did you go when you had problem with gambling, right? These are not conversations that happen in the public space, and I think it's important that folks know where to go or where to turn to, that there are services out there to help you if you're a problem gambler, and that's a very distinct group of folks from folks who do it maybe recreationally or casually that don't need these services. So I certainly rise to speak in support of this resolution and identifying March as Problem Gambler Awareness Month here in the state of New York. Mr. President, thank you for allowing me the time to speak.
Thank you, Senator Roth. Senator Addabbo on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank Senator Roth for introducing this resolution regarding March being Problem Gambling Month. Whenever we look to expand gaming in New York State in a credible, safe manner, the heightened awareness of problematic gaming should always be at the forefront of what we do. And as Senator Roth mentioned, we did so when we did mobile sports betting, which has proven to be successful, probably the most successful in the country. In that legislation, over 12 or so safeguards and measures to deal with the issue of addiction and problem gaming, in addition to $6 million of extra new funding for addiction purposes. But it's more so than that. And in talking about mobile sports betting, I always used to mention about if we really wanted to help someone with an addiction, prior to us having regulated mobile sports betting in New York, we couldn't because we didn't know who they were. We knew they were going to Jersey. 25% of New Jersey's mobile sports betting was New Yorkers going there. We knew they were already doing it illegally. So if you really wanted to help someone with an addiction, you couldn't. Now you can. By regulating it in New York, you can monitor someone's account. You can actually help them to see if they have an addiction, and even prior to an addiction, which is really critical, we can give them the assistance that they may need. So why it was so important, not only for revenue and educational purposes to get mobile sports betting up and running in New York, but to help someone who might have an addiction, who's now on our radar, who previously wasn't. As we go forward in dealing with, in this body, gaming addiction or gaming issues, maybe expanding gaming even further, we will always and must always have at the forefront the idea of how do we protect those who might have an addiction even before they may have an addiction. So once again, thank you for the resolution. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
The resolution was previously adopted on March 15th. Senator Gianaris.
Mr. President, the co-sponsors of the two resolutions we just took up would like to open them for co-sponsorship.
The resolutions are open for co-sponsorship. Should you choose not to be a co-sponsor, please notify the desk. Senator Gianaris.
Please take up the calendar.
Secretary Reed.
Calendar number 275, Senate Print 5024D by Senator Rivera, an act to amend the public health law.
Read the last section.
Section 6, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 390, Senate Print 615A by Senator Ramos, an act to amend the labor law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 180th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Senator Ramos to explain her vote.
Thank you once again, Mr. President. You know, a worker's life is their own. That's a core tenet of the labor movement. And now that more of our lives are online, we really should be updating labor law to reflect how we can safeguard the privacy of all workers. And so at a time when unemployment is high and the desperation for work drives too many employers to seek to cut corners and figure out how to have more control over their workers, we really needed to pass this bill, and my hope is that the Assembly can do it as well, so that we can continue to protect New York's workforce from any undue intervention on behalf of those employers. Thank you.
Senator Ramos to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 615A, those senators voted, calendar 390. Those senators voted in the negative are Senator Palumbo, ayes 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 456, Senate Print 5321 by Senator Kennedy, an act to amend the Real Property Actions and Proceedings Law.
Lay it aside.
Calendar number 487, Senate Print 1843A by Senator Skoufis, an act to amend the Insurance Law and the Vehicle and Traffic Law.
Read the last section.
Section 4, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 521, Senate Print 2837 by Senator Parker, an act to amend the Public Service Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 521, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Boyle, Griffo, Martucci, Oberacker, Ort, and Rath. Ayes 56, nays 7.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 539, Senate Print 4469A by Senator Mannion, an act to amend the Mental Hygiene Law and the Social Services Law.
Read the last section.
Section 4, this act will take effect April 1st, 2023.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 543, Senate Print 3227B by Senator Prasad, an act to amend the Agriculture and Markets Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Got two. In relation to calendar 543, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar and Ort, ayes 61, nays 2.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 572, Assembly number 3217A by Assemblymember Sayegh, an act to amend the Public Service Law and the Public Authorities Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Senator Kaplan to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the aftermath of Tropical Storm Isaias in August 2020, we on Long Island learned a lot of hard lessons about just how unprepared our utilities are for a major storm event. With hundreds of thousands of people without power and PSEG Long Island unable to properly manage the response, I received numerous calls from constituents who needed electricity to power their life-sustaining medical equipment, but who apparently were not considered an urgent priority for help by PSEG Long Island. Astonishingly, there is currently no standard to recognize that many medical conditions can be significantly triggered or exacerbated by a continued loss of power, and that such conditions will have a significant adverse impact on that individual's life and health. We cannot leave people in the dark when their lives are on the line. And I'm proud to be passing this bill today because it will finally create a realistic list of situations that demand priority restoration in an emergency to stop a rapid decline in a person's health or well-being. I want to thank our leader, Andrea Stewart Cousins, for bringing this bill to the floor today, and I proudly vote aye.
Senator Kaplan to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 577, Senate Print 7077 by Senator Hoylman, enactment of the Family Court Act and the Domestic Relations Law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect on the 90th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 701, Senate Print 6694B by Senator Harkam, enactment of the Education Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's calendar.
Let's move on to the controversial calendar, please.
Secretary will ring the bell. Secretary will read.
Calendar number 456, Senate Print 5321 by Senator Kennedy, enactment of the Real Property Actions and Proceedings Law.
Senator Lanza, why do you rise?
Mr. President, I believe there's an amendment at the desk. I waive the reading of that amendment and ask that you recognize Senator Jordan to be heard.
Thank you, Senator Lanza. Upon review of the amendment, in accordance with Rule 6, Section 4B, I rule it non-germane, out of order at this time.
Accordingly, Mr. President, I appeal the ruling of the chair and ask that you recognize Senator Jordan to be heard.
The appeal has been made and recognized, and Senator Jordan may be heard. Senator Jordan.
Mr. President, I rise to appeal the ruling of the chair. The proposed amendment is germane to the bill at hand because the bill relates to increased penalties, and the proposed amendment would repeal the bail and discovery reforms that have reduced or removed the ability of judges to impose appropriate penalties on dangerous criminals. Every day, New Yorkers are forced to deal with the effects of the disastrous bail and discovery reform as dangerous and violent criminals continue to be released without bail, free to commit more violent crimes. Crime rates are skyrocketing, and New Yorkers are much less safe than they were under the old bail laws. We have seen the devastating effect that these changes have had on our citizens. Judges' hands are tied by this ineffective and pro-criminal system as they're forced to release criminals without having the ability to exercise their discretion to hold an individual based on the danger that they pose to the community, or, in many cases, their history of failing to appear in court. Unless an offense falls within the narrow class of crimes that qualify for bail, judges have no option to set bail, even if doing so is necessary to protect the community or assure the defendant's return to court. Many offenders have a lengthy history of failing to appear in court or have a lengthy history of violence, including retaliatory violence against witnesses or victims. They must be immediately released at arraignment simply because the offense that they have committed is not sufficiently dangerous or harmful enough to warrant setting bail. And even when someone is charged with an offense that qualifies for bail, judges are only allowed to consider factors related to the defendant's risk of flight. Judges cannot consider the risk that the defendant poses to the community or those that they have victimized. Offenders arrested for serious crimes, such as breaking into and stealing from a business, felony driving while intoxicated, drug dealing, or animal abuse, are immediately released at arraignment, free to continue committing crimes. Since the bail reforms became effective in January 2020, crime rates have skyrocketed across the state. From 2019 to 2020, the murder rate increased by almost 50%, and gun crime outside of New York City increased nearly 30%. And we know that some of this crime has been committed by offenders who were released under the current bail laws. 3,460 offenders arrested and released committed violent felonies while out pending trial. 3,460 violent crimes could have been prevented if judges had full discretion to set bail in appropriate cases. We must restore common sense to our criminal justice system and give judges the discretion they need to set bail on dangerous offenders to keep New Yorkers safe. And for these reasons, Mr. President, I strongly urge you to reconsider your ruling.
Thank you, Senator Jordan. I want to remind the House that the vote is on the procedures of the House and the ruling of the chair. Those in favor of overruling the chair signify by saying aye.
Request a show of hands.
President, we've agreed to waive the showing of hands, record each member of the minority in the affirmative.
Without objection, so ordered. Announce the results.
Ayes 20.
The ruling of the chair stands and the bill in chief is before the House. Are there any of the senators wishing to be heard? Seeing and hearing none, debate is closed. Secretary will ring the bell. Read the last section.
Section 2, this action take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Senator Borrello to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. As the ranking member of the Senate Banks Committee, one of my major concerns is the fact that pretty much any bill that we pass in this legislature only impacts our state-chartered banks. Our state-chartered banks are becoming, unfortunately, a rarity. Most banks, especially the big banks, are federally chartered. And a bill like this, while it's trying to address a problem like zombie properties, only applies to our state-chartered banks, which are typically our community banks. The local banks that can make decisions, that can lend money to people that might be on the border. Those are the only ones that are impacted by bills like this. In fact, 68% of mortgages in New York are actually done by non-bank companies. They will not be impacted by this. But it is bills like this that have forced more of our state-chartered banks to merge, to close, or to become federally chartered banks. So what we have done here is we're going to put one more nail in the coffin of our community banks. Now, I understand that zombie properties are really a plague, especially in rural parts of Western New York, where I'm from. But if we really want to do something about that, we should come up with effective ways to allow these banks to resolve those properties as soon as possible. But we've done the exact opposite here. We've made it more and more difficult for banks to resolve those foreclosures. And now we're going to say, not only are we going to make it almost impossible for you to foreclose at a reasonable amount of time, we're going to make you pay for the maintenance of that property. They will eventually become extinct. And the only place you're going to be able to get a loan is from a high-interest bank out of state. That's not the New York that we need or want. So, Mr. President, I'm voting no. Thank you.
Senator Borrello to be recorded in the negative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 456, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Lanza, Martucci, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rath, Ritchie, Sereno, Steck, and Tedisco. Ayes 46, nays 17.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of the controversial calendar.
Is there any further business at the desk?
There is no further business at the desk.
Move to adjourn until tomorrow, Tuesday, March 29th at 3 p.m.
On motion, the Senate stands adjourned until Tuesday, March 29th at 3 p.m.